Well, hello everyone, and I hope you are having a good week. I welcome you to my study here at Lakewood Presbyterian Church. Glad that you've joined me for a couple minutes. Today I want to talk briefly with you about the role, the help, the assistance that Scripture can play in our lives. There's different theories about that. Different people take different approaches. But I want to share with you sort of the way I do it and maybe suggest a few things that might be helpful to you. The truth is that I'm going to say most Christians, and I don't care if you're a fundamentalist Christian or if you're a very, very liberal thinking Christian, most people are intimidated by the Bible. The Bible is actually not one book. That's the first thing we need to know. It's actually a library. It's a very small library of all of the documents that were considered inspired by God and that the church wanted to have as their sacred library. So when we talk about the Bible, the first thing you need to know is that it's really not one book. It's actually just a small library of 66 books. And the first 2/3 of it came from the Jewish people. That was really Jesus' Bible, his scriptures. The last third of it were documents that were found and discovered from the apostles in the early church that were retained and kept, and then everyone agreed, the church fathers agreed, that all of it would become our church library. So we need to understand that. And that's one reason it's intimidating, because it doesn't seem to be very clear and cohesive. Most people know something about the book of Genesis, but the rest of the Old Testament, they're not familiar with it. So one way that I would suggest is what I do. I simply take one book at a time, whether it's from the New Testament or from the Hebrew Bible. Take one book at a time. Sometimes I will grab a simple commentary for that book and I'll read just a little bit each day and just work through the book slowly, not really in an intellectual way, but just as we Presbyterians believe that God speaks through the Scriptures, and just seeing what comes out. I have many Bibles, and you can see that this is most of them, and I've actually given some away. Many Bibles. This was my first Bible that my mother gave me when I was 8 years old. I still have it and cherish it. It's a King James Version Bible. Do I read it? No. I find it very difficult to read. There's all kinds of modern translations that you can, or paraphrases that you can use. Find one that works for you. The other thing you might want to try is something called Lectio Divina, which is a Latin phrase meaning divine reading. And the way that works is you just, again, go to one book and you just take a small piece of Scripture. It may only be one verse or maybe 3 verses. And you read that through very slowly, often out loud. You pause and you meditate upon it, and maybe do that 2 or 3 times. Sometimes people then will, after they've thought about that, then they'll zero in on one sentence or then maybe one word, and just sort of see what comes up, and see if that's how God is speaking to you. So I want to encourage you to incorporate Bible reading into your lives every day or most days of the week, and just let it come to you as a way for God to speak to you, rather than trying to be a Bible scholar, because most of us are not Bible scholars, and I've been to seminary and I do not consider myself a Bible scholar, but I do love the Scriptures, and frankly some Scriptures are much more powerful to me than others, and that's okay. So find a book. You might want to start with one of the Gospels. Just start with the Gospel of Mark, what is probably the first Gospel and the shortest Gospel, and just slowly read through it and read about Jesus. So, speaking of Scripture, I want to encourage you to watch Leah's videos that she is creating each Sunday on Bible stories for adults. The adult versions of Bible stories that we feed to children. And really, some of those stories are quite interesting, and the versions we give the kids are the PG versions. So I want to encourage you to watch Aaliyah's videos, and they will help you to look beneath and beyond some of the simplified versions that we share with our kids. So God bless, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.